clever people, and welcome to my review for Logan. So Logan is the new film in the X-Men universe. There has been so many X-Men movies. This is, I believe, the 9th or 10th one, depending on if you count Deadpool as an X-Men movie. And it revolves around the character of Wolverine. This time, he is left of Wolverine, he is more of Logan. Logan is the human that he is, Wolverine is the persona that he takes on when he becomes the superhero. It follows him in sort of, I believe the year is 2027 or 2022 or something like that. They mention it in the movie. And it takes place in a universe where a lot of the other X-Men are not living. All that's really left is Professor Xavier and Logan, or that is what they believe, until a young girl comes to them that has similar powers to Logan. And at that point, they're very confused, they're unsure what's going on, but they want to uncover the truth about why this little girl, this mutant, is here. Logan was a movie I was very excited for. I am a pretty big fan of the X-Men franchise. I own a lot of them on Blu-ray. I own the first, the second, the third, and First Class and Days of Future Past, the normal version, and the Road Cut. I do plan on getting X-Men Apocalypse eventually, and the 2 standalone Wolverine movies, and Logan, because this film is a film I loved. From the beginning, I was excited. They opened with that fantastic Johnny Cash trailer song, where they had the Johnny Cash song in the background, and it really made me excited for the movie, because I was looking forward to Logan, but when that happened, I suddenly got stoked for it. It had an R rating, which was very different from every other X-Men movie to date, unless you count Deadpool as an X-Men movie. That was rated R, and because that was successful, they were able to make an R-rated Logan movie. And I can definitely say that this film earned its R rating. Not just because of the violence, which there is a lot of. Not just because of the language, which there also is a lot of. Not because of the nudity. None of that. A huge reason that this film is rated R is because of the emotionally depressing stuff that happens in this movie. You could get rid of the violence and the language and the nudity, and this film probably would still be rated R because of the emotionally intense things that happen in this movie. And that's something I really need to give it credit for. Too many comic book movies are really light, or they're like self-serious, but at the same time they're not completely dark because they can't really tackle a lot of themes. X-Men is a movie that a lot of people give credit for because it was one of the first movies to tackle a lot of themes that comic book movies hadn't at the time. However, those themes are more PG-13 centered. The themes in Logan are very mature and very, very adult. They are not for kids, they are not for teenagers, they are for adults, and I really did appreciate that about this movie. It tackles themes that are really powerful, not only about family, but also about the human condition, a life being taken away for just being used as a soldier instead of a human, and a lot of themes that are really, really heavy, but really played well in Logan. Something that you can easily compliment this movie for is its grizzled and really somber tone. From the beginning, you sort of got a Western vibe to the movie, and they continue with that throughout. The Western, it definitely has a very strong Western vibe to it. They mentioned Shane, which is a Western movie at the time. Not at the time, it came out in the 50s, I believe. They also have a setting that takes place in Mexico, which is a place that a lot of Westerns take because it's like a really, huge desert area. So there are a lot of allusions to Westerns filmed in this, and you can really feel that. It's a very gruff movie, it's very somber, it's very dark, and there's really not a lot of happiness in this movie. And that sort of made it more realistic. There's no giant scene where there's a beam in the sky and a bunch of superheroes have to go to stop it. There's nothing like that. This is really a character study and a human drama. The action scenes are not huge and blown out of proportion. They actually feel very natural. They feel like a normal action movie from like an action drama mix, like John Wick Chapter 2. Like, it has a lot of action scenes that are like that, where it's guns that are shooting, and then also just it happens that some characters have special powers. It was refreshing and something new in the X-Men universe and in the superhero film area in general, and that is something I really appreciated about Logan. And though action isn't the main point of the movie, the action in this film is ultra entertaining and phenomenally done. The cinematography, at times you can't tell what's going on, but there's a reason why that's happening. It's not that just the people were lazy and they didn't want to do the stunt work. The action was so well shot. It's extremely entertaining. Sequences can go on for 10 or 15 minutes, yet they feel like there's a reason that they're that long. They never feel too long. They never feel too short. They're perfectly inserted in there. But also, this film combines character arc, action, and comedy really well too. Something that the film never does is that it never stops to tell a joke. It never stops to progress the character. It never stops to be dark and somber. It all intertwines them in one giant smoothie. You put in the 4 different aspects, you mix them up, and you get something out of it, and it was fantastic. You also got a lot of gruff personalities in this movie. I complimented the movie for the dark and somber tone, but also the personalities fit with that. Logan is a really run-down guy. He's very angry. He gets very upset over a car in the very first opening scene. Yet you understand why, because this is a damaged guy, this is a hurt guy who's gone through a lot and really just sort of wants to die. He doesn't want to continue on with life, but he's doing it because it sort of feels responsible to him. He feels responsible for Professor Xavier. And by the way, Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier won't, but should be nominated for an Academy Award. This guy made a complete turnaround from the character in all of the other X-Men movies. Professor Xavier is a smart guy, he knows a lot of things, but what happens in this movie is that he's still got the smart aspect to him, but he's also sort of lost it. He's a really depressed guy. He doesn't really have a lot left in life to enjoy, and the whole film sort of has that with it, and a lot of it is to the character's personalities, but also the performances. Logan, too, or Hugh Jackman, does a terrific job. He is very sad, he is hardly ever happy, he hardly ever smiles, and a lot of it is just because his character could have been one-dimensional, he could have been a flat character, but he wasn't because of Hugh Jackman's fantastic performance. And the little kid who played Laura was also great. She has a lot of times where she's not talking, she's just emoting with her face, or with her, grunting or something, and it's very, very good from a child actor. It's great acting in general, but from a child actor, it's astonishing. If I had to come up with issues with this movie, the villains are weak, and you can definitely say that, but the main focus of the movie is to focus on Professor Xavier, Logan, and X-23. It's to focus on those 3 people specifically, so the villains honestly aren't the biggest deal in the world. Logan was a film that blew me away. I want to see it multiple times. Days of Future Past is an X-Men movie. I saw that, I think, 5 times in theaters, or maybe 4 or something. I want to see Logan just about the same amount of times. It's just because of its really dark, grizzled, somber tone to it, the fantastic performances, the brutal but fantastic action. This is a film I was completely entertained by, but you can also address that it is fantastically well done. If it wasn't for the weak villains and a few other nitpicks in this movie, I would be prepared to give this film a 9.5, but because of that, I will end up giving Logan an 8.75 out of 10. Fantastic films. I highly recommend that you go see it, even if you haven't seen the other X-Men movies. They do a great job at establishing the X-Men universe that took place before Logan, but at the same time, it's its own individual movie that I can say that anybody who hasn't seen any of the other X-Men movies should go see. Alright, that concludes my review for Logan. What are your thoughts on this film? Comment in the comment section below, and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.